"We're too busy at your sister's conference to attend your graduation," Mum texted. "E said, have fun." They didn't know E was winning the gold thesis award at AID. When they saw my speech go viral, the calls wouldn't stop. You have to understand, I grew up in Atherton, Silicon Valley. It isn't just a place, it's a religion. Here, your worth isn't measured in kindness or character. It's measured in your ROI, your burn rate, your exit strategy. My father, Brian, is a venture capitalist. My mother, Stephanie, a marketing director, obsessed with personal branding. They are people who only understand measurable success. And in our family, success had a name, Olivia, my little sister. She was 21, a tech prodigy. Before she could legally drink, she'd raised $500,000 in seed funding for her new startup. She was their golden child, their perfect investment. And I was, Claire, the 23-year-old artist, the invisible one, the creative daughter who had, to their deep confusion, secured an $80,000 scholarship to the wrong kind of school, an art school. I used to wonder how they could be so blatant, so cold. But I've come to understand the psychology of it. It's the trap of the golden child and the black sheep. It's not just that they loved Olivia more. It's that they saw her as an extension of their own ego. Her success was their success. Her name in tech journals validated their life choices. In their world, I wasn't just different. I was a bad investment. My art, my passion, it couldn't be quantified in a spreadsheet. It had no ROI. And in Silicon Valley, what can't be measured doesn't exist. I remember when I was 16. I spent 6 months developing an interactive digital art project. It was a complex series of light projections that reacted to movement. It was, I knew even then, brilliant. I set it up in the living room. My parents walked in, stopped, and just stared. My mother's hand went to her chest. "Brian, look at this. It's incredible." My father, who rarely looked up from his phone, was filming it. "Olivia," he said, his voice thick with a pride I'd never heard directed at me. "When did you learn to code like this? We need to show this to my partners." I just stood there, my heart hammering. I made it, Dad. It's not Olivia's." My father stopped filming. He looked at me, his eyes going flat. That flicker of pride vanished, replaced by confusion then annoyance. "Oh," he said, "that's nice, Claire. Just make sure you clean up these wires before dinner. Stephanie is expecting guests." He walked away. My mother followed, already pulling out her phone. "Stephanie, did you see the numbers on Olivia's beta test?" I stood there alone in the dark, surrounded by my glowing, beautiful, worthless art. You're probably wondering why I didn't scream, why I didn't fight or throw something or demand they see me. I used to, when I was younger, but I learned. There's something psychologists call learned helplessness. It's an invisible chain. When you're placed in a situation over and over again, where your efforts make no difference, where the game is rigged, you don't just stop trying, you stop believing you can try. My silence wasn't weakness, it was survival. It was the only way to protect that small, flickering part of myself that still loved to create, to shield it from their constant casual dismissal. I learned to live in the shadows. I became the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who never asked for anything. They didn't see me. But from the shadows, I saw everything. I saw the cost of their ambition. I saw the hollowness behind their obsession with success, and I just waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for, but I knew that someday The bill for being invisible would finally come due. And that graduation day when my phone lit up with their text. I knew it was time to collect. The day of the graduation was bright and sharp, the kind of clear California sky that feels like glass. The courtyard at the Atherton Institute of Design was packed. Hundreds of students in black gowns, a sea of families holding cameras and bouquets of flowers. The air buzzed with excitement and the faint smell of eucalyptus from the surrounding hills. I found my assigned row and then looked toward the reserved family section. And there they were, 3 empty white chairs. My name Claire was printed on a small, elegant card taped to each one. Brian, Stephanie, Olivia. 3 empty seats right in the front row, a perfect, sterile monument to their absence. I'd known they wouldn't be there. I'd read the text. But seeing the physical emptiness, the space they were supposed to fill, it still felt like a punch, low and cold. I could feel the families around me settling in the proud murmurs, the fathers adjusting their ties, the mothers waving excitedly. I just stared at those chairs. I was so used to their absence. I'd almost forgotten how much it could weigh. Then, just as the processional music was about to begin, I saw a figure moving slowly down the aisle. It was my great-aunt Eleanor. Eleanor was 70, a retired design legend from the old school. While my parents chased the next big thing in tech, Eleanor was the one who had actually built things. She was the only person in my family who had ever looked at my artwork and asked questions about my process instead of my profit margins. She was wearing a striking deep blue coat and walked with a silver-topped cane. She stopped right at the empty row, looked at the 3 vacant chairs, and then looked directly at me. She didn't wave. She just nodded a small, sharp acknowledgement, as if to say, "I see it." She handed her ticket to the usher, pointed to the 4th chair in my family's row, the one I'd reserved for her, and slowly sat down. She smoothed her coat, placed her cane deliberately in front of her, and then turned to me again. Even from 50 feet away, I could read her lips as she mouthed 2 words. Their loss. I felt something in my chest unlock. The cold, hard knot of humiliation loosened, replaced by a sudden, fierce warmth. I had one person. It was enough. The ceremony began. The speeches were long. The dean spoke about forging new paths and the intersection of art and commerce. I clapped politely, my eyes drifting back to Eleanor. She was watching the stage with a kind of serene patience, completely unfazed by the empty seats beside her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the dean of faculty returned to the podium. And now she said, her voice echoing across the courtyard, "We come to the highest honor the Institute bestows. A prize given not just for academic excellence, but for a singular vision that promises to redefine the future of design." My heart started to hammer against my ribs. The recipient of this year's Gold Thesis Award is chosen by a panel of industry leaders, innovators, and masters of the craft. The dean paused, looking down at the card in her hand. The silence in the courtyard was absolute. This year, the panel was unanimous. I held my breath, my hands clenched so tight, my nails dug into my palms. I saw Eleanor lean forward just an inch. The dean looked up her eyes, scanning the sea of black gowns until somehow they seemed to find mine. For a project that explores the very nature of human connection art and the digital space, the Gold Thesis Award goes to Claire. The sound didn't register at first. Claire. It was just noise. A wave of applause washing over the courtyard. I sat still, my heart frozen, convinced it was a mistake. Then Aunt Eleanor turned to me. Her eyes were shining with tears, and she grabbed my hand, squeezing it so hard her rings dug into my skin. "That's you, dear," she whispered, her voice thick. "Get up. Go." It was like walking through water. The air felt heavy. The sound of thousands of people clapping was a roaring in my ears. I remember the feel of the steps under my shoes, the sudden heat of the stage lights, the blur of faces all turning toward me. I shook the dean's hand, my own hand trembling. I accepted the heavy glass award. Its edges felt sharp and cold. And then I was standing at the podium. I looked out. Thousands of people, my entire graduating class, the faculty, the families. And then I saw them, right in the front row, 3 empty white chairs gleaming in the bright sunlight. Next to them, Eleanor, who was now openly weeping her shoulders, shaking with a pride I had never witnessed before. In my pocket, I had my speech, a perfectly crafted professional speech about the synergy of art and technology. It was safe. It was respectable. It was everything my parents would have approved of if they had bothered to show up. I looked at those 3 empty chairs. I thought about the text message, "Too busy, too tired." I thought about my glowing art project in our dark living room and the cold, dismissive, "Oh, from my father." And in that second, I made a choice. I pushed the prepared speech aside. I leaned into the microphone. "Good afternoon," I said. My voice didn't shake. It was perfectly clear. It was cold. "I had a speech written for you about the future of interactive design, but I can't give it because the most important design lesson I ever learned came from those 3 empty chairs right there." The courtyard went completely silent. A few people turned, following my gaze. I saw the cameras, the ones live streaming the event, swivel and then zoom in on that empty row. "I grew up in Silicon Valley," I said, my voice cutting through the stillness. "A place where everything and everyone is measured. Every idea is quantified by its potential ROI, its return on investment. I was taught that if something couldn't be scaled, it wasn't valuable. If it couldn't be measured in dollars or users, it didn't really exist." My family is at a tech conference today. They are supporting my sister's startup, which has a very impressive ROI. They are celebrating a future that can be measured. I let that hang in the air. They couldn't be here for this, because this art, design, this is considered a hobby, a nice to have, something without clear metrics. For years I believed them. I tried to make myself smaller, quieter, more measurable. I looked down at the glass award in my hand. This award, this is for the unmeasurable ones. This is for everyone who was told their passion was just a distraction. For everyone who was told their art was just a nice to have. I looked directly at the main camera, the one streaming this to the world. The empty chairs my family left today, they are not an insult. They are not an absence. They are finally a liberation. They have liberated me from the need to please people who will never see my worth. They have liberated me from trying to earn approval that was never available. And they have taught me that if you are not offered a seat at the table, you must build your own. The applause started hesitant at first, just a few hands. Then it grew rolling from the front rows to the back, building like thunder. But I wasn't finished. "So thank you," I said, my voice clear and strong over the noise. "Thank you to those empty chairs. You were the final lesson. You taught me that my value isn't determined by who shows up. My value is determined by the fact that I showed up for myself." I picked up my award, nodded to the dean, and walked off the stage. The applause was deafening. I walked off stage in a daze. My hands were shaking, and the applause felt like a physical force, a wave of sound that followed me all the way back to my seat. Eleanor was already standing, her arms open. She didn't say anything. She just pulled me into a hug that smelled like old books and expensive perfume, that she said, her voice unsteady, was an arrival. I sat down, my heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. The rest of the ceremony was a blur. Names were called, degrees were conferred, but I was somewhere else entirely. I was replaying the words, the silence, the sudden shocking roar of the crowd. I'd done it. I had said the truth out loud. What I didn't know was that 300 miles away in a sterile convention center, my truth was about to collide with my family's reality. At that exact moment, Olivia was on stage at the Future Tech Summit, standing under a harsh blue spotlight. She was in her element, delivering a polished pitch about synergizing user-centric data models to optimize scalable growth. In the front row, my father Brian and my mother Stephanie were filming her on their phones, their faces tight with pride. They were watching their golden child perform. But in that same front row sat Alex Chen. Alex Chen was in Silicon Valley, basically a god. He was a legendary CEO, an innovator who had built 3 separate billion-dollar companies from scratch. He was notorious for being brilliant, ruthless, and having an attention span that lasted about 30 seconds. And he was bored. Olivia's speech about scalable growth was exactly the kind of corporate jargon he'd heard 1,000 times. While my sister talked, Alex Chen was scrolling through his social media feed. He saw a post from a designer he respected, an AID alumnus, who had shared the live stream of the graduation. The caption read, "You need to stop what you're doing and listen to this valedictorian's speech." Intrigued, Alex Chen put in his earbuds. He watched. He saw a girl on a stage standing next to 3 empty chairs. He heard her talk about return on investment and unmeasurable value. He heard her talk about being liberated. He watched the whole thing. Then, as Olivia wrapped up her pitch to polite applause, Alex Chen pulled up his own Twitter profile. He typed, "I'm currently at a conference where everyone is talking about how to build the future. I just watched a valedictorian speech from the Atherton Institute of Design that explained why we build it. Creativity that can't be measured is what drives all innovation. That's the real ROI. Congratulations, Claire." He hit post. The effect was instantaneous. Alex Chen's tweet wasn't a spark. It was a detonator. Within 60 seconds, it had over 1,000 retweets. Tech journalists, venture capitalists, designers, artists, everyone saw it. They clicked the link. They watched my speech. And they shared it. Back in the courtyard, I was taking photos with Eleanor, my glass award, heavy in my hand. My phone, which had been silent all day, suddenly buzzed, and then buzzed again, and again, and again. It didn't stop. I pulled it out confused. It wasn't my family. It was Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, my email, your speech. Incredible words Alex Chen just tweeted about you. I clicked the notification. I saw his tweet. I saw the numbers climbing 10,000 likes, 50,000, 100,000. My speech, my quiet, personal moment of defiance, was no longer mine. It belonged to the internet. It was going viral. News blogs were already writing articles. The valedictorian speech that just called out Silicon Valley's soul. Who is Claire the art student? Alex Chen can't stop talking about. I looked at Eleanor, my phone shaking in my hand. "Eleanor," I whispered, I think I just made a terrible mistake, or a brilliant one." She just smiled, that slow, wise smile of hers. "My dear," she said, patting my hand, "those are almost always the same thing." The next morning my apartment was chaos. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since 5 a.m. The speech wasn't just viral anymore. It was an inferno. It was on the front page of tech blogs, art journals, and even mainstream news sites. The empty chair speech was trending #1. I had interview requests from 3 different news outlets and about 500 new LinkedIn connection requests. I was sitting on my floor numb, staring at a headline, "Valedictorian speech on unmeasurable value sends shockwaves through Silicon Valley," when my phone rang. "Mom?" I stared at the name Stephanie glowing on the screen. I took a deep breath. I knew this was coming. I answered, "Claire." Finally. Her voice wasn't warm. It was high-pitched, a tight wire of pure panic. "Claire, what did you do?" I gave my speech, Mom. You need to take that video down. Right now." "I can't do that, Mom. The university posted it. Everyone has posted it." "Then you need to make a statement. You need to fix this. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "What did I do?" I asked, my voice quiet. "You embarrassed us. You embarrassed your sister." The Alex Chen was at Olivia's conference. He was supposed to be her key networking contact. And do you know what he did? He walked out. He left. Right after her panel, Claire, he left. And then he tweeted about you. I stayed silent. "Everyone is asking, why didn't you go to your other daughter's graduation? Did you know she was winning this award? Did you know Alex Chen was following her work? It makes us look like monsters. Like we don't even know our own daughter." "That's because you don't," I thought. "I have to go, Mom." "Don't you hang up on me. You need to call Olivia. She's devastated. This was her moment, Claire. Her big launch. And you just..." "I have to go," I said again, and I disconnected the call. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from clarity. She wasn't horrified that she had missed the biggest moment of my life. She was horrified that other people knew she had missed it. The phone immediately rang again. This time it was Dad, Brian. I answered. His voice was different, not panicked. It was the low, controlled, icy tone he used when a deal was falling apart. "Claire, you need to delete the tweet and the video immediately." "I can't delete Alex Chen's tweet, Dad." "Don't be flippant. This isn't a joke. I've already had 2 calls this morning. 2. One from Olivia's lead investor, the other from a partner at my firm. They're confused." "Confused about what?" "They're confused why I was at a tech summit bragging about my innovator daughter Olivia, while my other daughter was accepting the highest honor at AID and getting endorsed by Alex Chen. They're asking Brian what kind of portfolio manager doesn't even know the value of his own assets." His own assets. He wasn't angry that I was hurting. He was angry that my stock price had suddenly gone up and he had been caught betting on the wrong horse. "This makes me look like I'm out of touch, Claire. It makes our family look fractured. It's bad for business. You need to issue a correction. Say you had begged us not to come because you were nervous. Say whatever you want, just fix it. I won't be lying for you," I said. "This isn't a lie. It's crisis management. It's what families do. We protect the brand." "I have to go, Dad." "You listen to me, Claire. You have no idea the damage you've done." I hung up. I sat there, the phone heavy in my hand. 2 calls. Not one, "I'm sorry." Not one, "Congratulations." Not one, "I wish I had been there." Just you embarrassed us. You're bad for business. My phone buzzed one more time. A text message. This one was from Olivia. I opened it. "I hope you're happy. You finally did it. You made my biggest moment all about you. Thanks for ruining everything." I stared at the words. I ruined it. I looked at the text from my mother. I looked at the missed call from my father. And I looked at the text from my sister. And for the first time, the invisible chain of learned helplessness snapped. They weren't sorry. They weren't sad. They were just caught. And in their panic, they had shown me exactly who they were. Not just neglectful. They were bankrupt. Morally bankrupt. My phone rang again. An unknown number, this one, with a New York area code. I let it ring. But then an email popped up. The subject line, Alex Chen's office, an introduction. I opened it. "Dear Miss Claire, Mr. Chen was incredibly moved by your speech. He believes unmeasurable creativity is exactly what the industry is lacking. He would like to fly you to New York, first class, to discuss a unique opportunity with our innovation team." I read the email. Then I read it again. I looked at the angry, panicked messages from my family. Then I looked at the calm, professional, life-changing offer from one of the most powerful men in the world. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I typed a single reply to Olivia. "You're right. I am happy. Good luck with your startup." Then I opened the email to Alex Chen's office. "Dear Mr. Chen," I typed, "I would be honored. When do I fly out?" Amidst the storm of notifications, that one email glowed, the one from Alex Chen's office. It wasn't just an email. It was a verdict. My family was judging me for embarrassing them. But Alex Chen was offering me a job. He didn't just want me to consult. He wanted me to lead, to build and run a new innovation lab, a department dedicated to the unmeasurable creativity I had talked about in my speech. He wrote, "I don't invest in startups, Claire. I invest in people, and your vision is what's been missing." He flew me to New York. I walked into that headquarters not as a nervous graduate, but as a peer, and I accepted. My family, their calls eventually stopped. The anger faded, replaced by a confused, hollow silence. When they finally did reach out, it wasn't with anger anymore. It was with negotiation. I met them one last time at a neutral coffee shop. Not my apartment, not their house, neutral ground. They said they were proud. They said they wanted to move forward. And I looked at them, at my mother, my father, my sister, all looking at me with a new, strange kind of respect, a respect born from Alex Chen's validation, and I set my terms. "I am done," I told them, being the invisible one. "I am done trying to earn a seat at a table that was never set for me. If we are going to have a relationship, it will be a real one. And it will start with therapy. All of us, together, no excuses." They agreed. That work is slow, it's hard, some days it feels impossible. But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story is this. It's 6 months later. I'm back at AID, not as a student, but as the head of the new Chen Athelred Innovation Grant. I'm sitting with a young artist, a freshman, her hands covered in charcoal and paint. She's nervously showing me her digital art project, her voice small. "I don't know if it's marketable," she whispers. I smile. and I point to the chair I'm sitting in, the same chair I now use in my mentorship office. The one I sat in while watching my own graduation. The empty chair. Your work isn't supposed to be marketable, I tell her. It's supposed to be true. Stop trying to get a return on investment. Start investing in yourself. She looks at me, and for the first time, her eyes light up. And as I'm speaking to her, I realize I'm also speaking to you. Because this video, this is a letter to everyone who has ever felt like they were on the fringes. To the one who was told you were too much or not enough. The one who was always the responsible one, the quiet one. The one who was expected to be the audience for someone else's life. You are not an afterthought. Your life is not a supporting role. Please hear me. Stop waiting for an invitation to a table that was never set for you. Stop begging for a seat from people who refuse to see your worth. Build your own. Build it with your own hands, with your own talent, with your own unmeasurable, brilliant, messy truth. It will be the hardest thing you ever do, but I promise you one day you will sit in the life you built and you will finally be free. And that feeling is worth everything.